In this video, I'm ranking the most common retirement strategies and showing you what actually works. If you want to retire in 2026, not when you're 65, not someday, 10 years or less, full stop. Let's get into it. What actually makes a retirement strategy worth using? It's not a return on investment, it's not what your advisor tells you, and it's not how big your net worth looks on a spreadsheet. Here's the real question. Will this strategy create predictable, inflation-resilient, tax-efficient income without you having to sell off your assets? If the answer to that question is no, it's not a retirement plan, it's a retirement delay. So let's rank them. 6 strategies, worst to best. Some you've heard of, one you've probably never been taught, but it's the one thing that actually puts you in control. So let's start at the bottom. Coming in last place is 401ks, IRAs, and deferral plans. I'm gonna give it a grade D, flunking out of the retirement game altogether. But here's the reality in America. This is the retirement gospel, but it's a dead religion. But here's the reality. You're deferring your money, you're deferring your taxes, and you're deferring your freedom into a future that you have zero control over. Here's the reality I want you to consider why I give these accounts a flunking grade. You can't touch your money until you're 59 and a half. You're locked into government-controlled tax rules. You're betting on market returns that you can't predict. And number 4, you're hoping that your portfolio won't tank the year that you stop working. That's not a plan, that's blind faith. When I was 30, I was making $150,000 a year. I was saving 20% of my income just like I was told to do, and I was putting everything in my 401k in a tax-deferred account. Now, I'll never forget when I ran the numbers for myself. I realized that the answer to the question that Wall Street, never wants you to ask is how much money do I need in my 401k to give me the income that I want? When you run that math, it's gonna shock you. I realized despite my best efforts of saving 20% of my income, I was nowhere near the portfolio balance that I needed to give me the income that I wanted. For the first time, I realized I was stuck in a game where I had to trade the rest of my life to hopefully get to a multi-million-dollar net worth just to replace $150,000 a year. That, my friends, was losing. Because when I ran the math for me, I realized even in the best case scenario, I would not have enough money in my account until I was in my mid-70s. Now, that had nothing to do with inflation. And by my mid-70s, 40 years in the future, that multi-million-dollar portfolio wouldn't mean what I thought it meant today. That's not retirement, that is rationing. This brings me to ranking number 5. It's real estate, but it's real estate done the wrong way. I'm gonna grade this with a C. Now we're getting a little bit closer to freedom, but we're still far off. So if you're still banking on your 401k to retire you, I've got some bad news for you. It's not gonna happen. I mean, not with rising taxes, not with inflation eating you alive, and definitely not with Wall Street bleeding you dry. So listen, I want you to consider this. I retired in under 10 years, and I didn't use crypto, I didn't use the market, I definitely didn't use any broke financial advisors. I used a simple 3-step system that I now call the passive income machine. I'm gonna be breaking down the entire thing in a free live workshop this week. So if you've made good money, but you still don't feel free, this one is for you. Here's what I want you to do. Click the first link in the description below because there's only a few seats left. I'll see you on the presentation. Here's what happens. Someone hears real estate is the path to passive income. So they buy a rental, maybe 2, but they don't really have a plan. There's no automation, there's just hustle. And now they've got a second job. If you're fixing toilets, if you're chasing tenants, if you're worrying about vacancies, you didn't build a business, you built a burden. Real estate works when it's systematized, cash flowing, and delegated, and most people never get there. Now, I'll be honest, this is the way I started off in real estate. I realized my 401k was dead. I realized I would never retire using Wall Street's system. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, the little purple book, and he said cash flow was the way to do it. So I bought 3 properties. After 3 properties, I realized I had a second job. I wasn't very good at my second job, and I was further away from financial freedom than when I started. Because having a second job isn't freedom. Even though I was making a little bit more money, I was working really hard for that additional money. Financial freedom is measured with cash flow, how much income is coming from your assets, but here's the golden rule. It's experienced with time. If you're doing real estate actively, congratulations, you have a job. You can make good money doing it, but you don't own your time. This brings me to strategy number 4, the FIRE movement, frugality-based retirement. And I'm gonna give this a grade C+. I respect the discipline, but the math still doesn't work. Cutting your expenses in half so you can quit your job sounds like freedom until inflation hits, or the life that you really want to live costs more than you thought. And then what? You end up spending the second half of your life budgeting, not living. Freedom isn't about spending less, it's about building income that buys back your time. I'll never forget the first time I met with someone in the FIRE movement. He had cut his expenses expenses down to living off of 20% of his active income. Now, when I asked him how this was working, he's like, man, I hope I get free soon because I don't know if I can do this much longer. What he never realized was he was living in such a scarcity mode that he slept on the floor, he didn't even have a pillow, he had no air conditioning unit in a very hot house in Arizona, and he thought scrimping all the way to financial freedom was the key, but he was suffering to get there. Here's the reality, my friends. Financial freedom is about abundance. When you have a system that delivers cash flow, everything changes. So I know these traps that I'm explaining right now. I've been in all of them. I've traded my life today, handing my money over to Wall Street, hoping that it would all work out. Then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I ran the math, and it hit me. Savers really are losers, and I'm the loser. I'm playing a game that I can't win. I'm trading my time for something that I'll never be able to get back in the future, and I'm playing a game that was never designed to set me free. This is the hidden reality of the Wall Street system. It's designed to keep you trapped so they can make money at your expense. The system was never going to give me the life I wanted, and once I saw it for what it was, I made a decision. I realized I'm not going to bet my future and hope that their system will work for me. So I pulled my money out of their system. I took it completely off of Wall Street. I took the penalties, I paid the taxes, I built a new system with my money instead, my own system. It was the best decision I ever made. It's what allowed me to join the ownership economy. On the ownership economy, you have to own your money so you can own your results. If you want to retire in 10 years or less, we built a free course that shows you how we do it, how we've helped thousands of people just like you do it. Normally, it's just for private clients, but we've unlocked it right now on this video. So go to the second link in the description and get inside while it's still live. This brings me to grade number 3, Wall Street portfolios, stocks, and bonds. I'm gonna give this one a B-. This is your advisor's go-to, the 60-40 portfolio. Diversify, stay the course, hope for the best. The problem with this is bonds are weak, inflation is up, and the 4% withdrawal rule doesn't hold up anymore. You're building your freedom on paper gains that disappear the moment the market turns. Even in the 1970s, stocks rose while the dollar collapsed. You look richer on paper but could buy less. So yeah, it might work, maybe, possibly, but it's super fragile. And fragility is the enemy of freedom. Fragility is the opposite of what you want to become unbreakable, untouchable, and anti-fragile. This brings me to strategy number 2, turnkey cash flowing real estate. I'm gonna give this one a grade A-. This is where real leverage begins. When the right properties are managed by the right team, producing real cash flow with real tax advantages, you're building something that actually supports you. It works no matter what inflation is. In fact, the more inflation, the better the system works. It works in chaos. This is what I call a passive income machine. But there's still a missing piece to the system, liquidity. Without control over your capital, even the best portfolio, it'll get stuck. This brings me to grade number 1, infinite banking plus turnkey real estate. This is grade A+. It is the only way that you can become financially free, especially if you constrain your time frame into 10 years or less. This is what I use. It's what our clients use. And it's the only model I've seen that gives you both growth and control. Here's how it works. You overfund a high cash value life insurance policy. We call this your vault. That policy grows tax-free, there's no market risk, and it's fully protected. Now you have a position and a place to store your money where you have absolute certainty and confidence. Your money's compounding no matter what happens. You then borrow against it without interrupting the growth of that account. You take that borrowed cash value and you invest it in real cash flowing real estate, turnkey real estate, the exact thing I just mentioned. That real estate generates income, but in addition to that real estate generating income, it allows you to multiply your money. When you borrow against your vault, you turn $1 into 2. Your dollars are working in 2 assets at the same time. You take that second dollar and put it as a down payment for real estate, but then you go to the bank. And because you have a piece of real estate, the bank will bring 4 additional dollars to the equation. You, my friends, just turned 1 invested dollar into 5 working dollars. This is how the game starts to magnify, and this is how you achieve financial freedom in 10 years or less. The real estate income then repays the loan both to the bank and to the policy. Then the last step of the process is the easiest one of all. Once you've done it once, do it again. Do it again and again and again until you hit financial freedom, cash flow greater than expenses. When your money is compounding in 2 places at once, it's protected and it's working for you even while you sleep. This is how you break out of the retirement matrix and actually own your time. You build a system that you control. You join me and everyone else that's in the ownership economy. There are 2 parallel economies going on right now. There's the dependency economy, the Wall Street economy, where everyone's walking around with a blindfold on and their fingers crossed hoping that it works out. And then there's the ownership economy, where we take ownership of our income, where we take ownership of our money, the assets that we own, and the results that we generate. I use this exact model to walk away from earned income in under 5 years. And we've helped hundreds of other people just like you do the exact same thing. This isn't theory, this is engineering. It's freedom engineering, and it's what's available to you with a single decision. So imagine this, you're 67, you followed the plan, you saved, saved, you invested, you did everything they told you to do. You did it right. And now you're staring at your account and you're afraid to spend it. Because deep down, you know the truth. If the market dips, if inflation keeps rising, if taxes change, you could outlive your money. That's people's greatest retirement fear. That's not retirement, it's a quiet panic. If you're done playing defense and you're ready to start building real freedom, don't stop here. Click this next video because Wall Street, they hate me for sharing it, but it breaks down exactly how to escape their system and retire sooner than you ever thought possible. Click it now and I'll see you there.